If you're using EF Core without migrations, you're asking for trouble. Your local database won't match production, deployments get risky, and small schema changes can become big problems. I'll show you why you need them and how to add them to your application. I've seen the benefits of using migrations in my 20 years as a .NET developer. When you create a migration, it adds it into the migrations folder in your project. This generates a SQL command for the database. If you didn't have this, it'd be very time consuming to get your database in sync with the code. Migrations means that we can track database schema changes in the Git repository. You imagine if we didn't have this. If we wanted to roll back a change, we wouldn't know which developer made the change and what changes they actually made. Migrations allows us for consistency across each of the environments. Each developer can run this command on their local environment to sync the changes with the database. Without this, a developer may forget to add a database schema change in their local environment, or even worse, the database schema in production is different from local. You can also generate, review, or even automate deployment scripts, as is shown here. Without this, you may forget to review the deployment script, or even worse, you forget to run the deployment script, leading to runtime exceptions. The first step is to migrate this product entity into the database. To do this, we need to ensure that we've got the Microsoft Entity Framework core.design and tools NuGet packages installed. We're now going to configure the product so it has the database schema changes that it needs. We're going to add this into a separate class, and you must remember to implement this interface and include the entity as the generic type, otherwise it's not going to work. The first step is to set the primary key as the ID. Now the next step is very important. For each of the string properties, we must set a max length. If we don't do this, when it's applied to the database, it will set it as envarchar max. If you do a select command on that, it could cause performance issues. So we're going to set it with a maximum length of 100 characters. Now by default, when you run the migration, it will use the entity name as the table name, but we can change that by calling builder to table, and we're going to change the name to products. Now this won't work at the moment. We need to make a change to the DB context. We need to override onModelCreating, and we call modelBuilder.apply configuration from assembly. Now, if your DB context is in the same assembly as your configuration, then the easiest way to do that is to get the type of the DB context, so it's EF Migrations DB context, and just call assembly like that. Time to add the migration. We go to Tools, NuGet Package Manager Console. For the default project, we must set it to the project where we installed the design NuGet package. For us, it was the infrastructure project. To add the migration, we run add-migration and then we'll give it a name of add product. This has created a migrations folder, and it's also created a migration script so we can see the changes that are going to be applied to the database. If we're happy with the changes, we can run update-database to apply the changes to the database. And there we are, our database has been created, and it's also got the schema changes needed for the product table. If you're using the .NET CLI, you must install the .NET-EF tool using this command line. You then need to change directory to the folder where your solution file is. You then run this command to add a migration, remembering to add the name for it, so for this it's add products, and then we also need to include the project parameter, which is infrastructure. That's where the design NuGet package is, and we also need a startup project as well. The API has our connection string, so that's why we need that. To update the database, we run this command line, remembering to add the project and startup project parameters. Now that you've applied your first migration, the next step is to add it in a real-world application. This is something you can do in my Minimal API course, linked in the description, where I show you how to apply migrations in a web API. It's had great feedback from other developers, and there are some free preview videos to get you started. The migration that we just applied was very simple. Next, we'll look at more complex migrations, like joining tables together. We've created a category entity, and we've got an ID property. In the product entity, we've added a category ID entity, and we're going to join the two together. We're going to add a migration like we did before, and then we're going to apply the changes to the database. Unless you're using navigation properties, this won't work without making additional changes to the product configuration. So to do this, we call builder, we specify that it has one category with many products, we specify that the foreign key for it is the category ID in the product table, and we're going to make it optional, so we set is required to false. We then add the migration in the Package Manager console with this command, remembering to set the default project to infrastructure and also our startup project, which has the connection strings. This has added our migration script, which includes the join to the products and the category, and also creating the table for the categories. We then update the database to apply the changes. The categories table has been added, along with the relationship between the product and the category. If some of your data is consistent across each environment, you want a way to pre-populate it. This can be done with migrations, and we're going to use it to populate the categories. We want to populate the categories table with electronics and gaming. We have a separate configuration for the category. To add this, we call builder.hasData, and then we can add our data records. We're going to add a category name of electronics with an ID of 1, and we'll do the same for gaming, which has an ID of 2. After we've added the migration and updated the database changes, it's added the category names to this table. Incidentally, whenever you run a migration, it adds it to this table. Here it's logged the migration ID, and this corresponds with the migration ID in the application. There's also other configuration that you can apply, such as changing the column name, and also you can set a default value to it. You can also run a raw SQL command in a migration. To do that, you add an empty migration, then you call migrationbuilder.sql and add the SQL in there as the parameter. You can remove a migration by running this command, and this will remove the last migration. However, if it's already been applied to the database, you can't remove it. I'll demonstrate that by trying to remove the last migration, and it has failed, saying that it's been applied to the database. So far, we've shown you how to apply migrations in your local dev environment. But that won't work if you want to automate your migrations in your CI/CD pipeline. What you can do though is you can create a background service and then run that to apply the migrations. This is the worker service that I've created to do just that, and you can download the code linked in the description if you want to use it. It adds the DB context, then adds a hosted service. Inside the hosted service, it gets the pending migrations from the DB context, and if there's any to be applied, it applies them to the database. Entity Framework Core is a powerful ORM, and you'll want to subscribe to the channel to keep learning about its best practices and features. One of its features is global query filters. This is where you filter data across all queries in a DB context. I cover that in this video, so I'll see you over there.